Good morning, everyone. This is Julie McDonald with Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending today with Peplink. Today's host is Jason. He'll be presenting today, and if anyone has any questions, please feel free to submit them in the question to Jason at the end of today's presentation. Thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time to be with us here today. I am finished for now. Please go ahead and take it on over.
All right, thank you very much, Julie. My name is Jason Kropp. I'm one of the technical marketing engineers here over at Peplink, and today I want to take some time to talk about how InControl 2 has evolved and grown since its implementation. First off, just to set the baseline, InControl 2, of course, is our cloud-based management, monitoring, reporting tool that we use with our Peplink and Pepwave gear. You can associate any of our products to InControl 2, giving you admin tools, device visibility, access, as well as comprehensive reporting. It's our one-stop solution we offer with the gear. To start going through some of the new features we've rolled in, the first actually comes up during the account creation process. You go ahead and create your organization, you create a group, and during the group creation process, you now have the ability to clone settings from another previously created group. This basically allows you to quickly get a copy and paste, if you will, of multiple locations set up with the same information, speeding up deployment a great deal. We'll take it from the top down as far as the new features added, starting first at the organization level. When you create Speed Fusion, everything under the hood got retooled, and it added a couple of very interesting features. So during the profile creation process, when you go ahead and choose the particular topology that you're looking for, you now have the disaster recovery option available to you. And what this does is it creates a second lower priority set of tunnels between each of the endpoints and the other hub that we're trying to connect up to. It does require that the endpoint has to have two available tunnel licenses or creation points available to it. And what this does is allow for routing around bad connections or the down tunnel to ensure that you stay up and running consistently. Next up, during the organization settings, and the org settings, of course, is where we kind of control some of the nuts and bolts of IC2, moving devices, restricting access to the account, kind of making sure that only the people who need to be in there are going to be in there. And we've now added the ability to set firmware policies from the organization level. So you can make global changes to all the devices associated to the account. Previously, you were limited to the group and device levels to go ahead and set up these updates. Drilling down a bit further into the group level, and the group level, of course, is where you start getting a bit more precise with the information that you're looking at. This is a particular group of Peplink devices that you're able to take a peek at. The big change here has to deal with captive portal and social Wi-Fi. So during the SSID creation process, first off, you now have the ability to go ahead and randomize your PSK or just key it to the last 8 characters of the MAC address of the particular AP, giving you basically more options to secure the network quickly and easily. The biggest change, however, is how we handle social Wi-Fi information now. Due to the new data protection laws that are going to be kicking in on the 25th in Europe, we had to retool what we hold now through Captive Portal. So once you log into the Captive Portal with social Wi-Fi, all we are collecting is an email address, if any are provided, and the social media user ID, your Twitter handle, your Facebook handle, etc. Any other personal information is going to get deleted. Now, if you log in through email or SMS, we do collect a little bit more in that regard. The ad delivery service, if you've got that up and running, is going to collect captive portal language, GPS location, what web browser you're using, the URLs that you're clicking on at that point, and we do drop some cookies to make sure that we can track the time you're watching an advertisement. We hold on to this for 2 years. Now, unless authorities are going to contact us to gather some of this information, we do only share this as personal data to you, the account holder. And to that end, we've actually introduced a new admin level to the account creation. It's called the Super Organization Administrator. Now, if you were an existing org admin at the time of this rollout, you're now promoted, if you will, to Super Org Admin. These are the only admins with access to the social user data in Captive Portal reports and the client lists. Alongside of that, Captive Portal admin level and Captive Portal viewers can also see this information. But the Super Org admin and Captive Portal admin are the only ones who can remove that social user data. Again, otherwise it purges out after 2 years. A feature that's been up for a little while here, but it still bears revisiting, is geofencing. Geofencing allows you through InControl 2 to define an area either by just doing a manual circle or outlining a path on the map via GPX files. And when a device crosses that area, IC2 triggers an action item. Now, you do have to have a GPS-enabled Peplink device in place or Max mobile gear. You do got to be up to date on firmware. And you do have to have an active IC2 account, of course, to make it all work. So you set this up again under the group level settings, geofencing, and then you define the area that you're looking for, whether again by ring or by the path. You can selectively screen things out via tags, and then once you are crossing the area, as we can see here, we'll go ahead and fire off an email notification, disable Wi-Fi, or send a WebEd. Well, maybe not the last part, but we're working on that. Not really. SIM pooling. SIM pooling is more administrative, but what it does allow you to do is to add SIMs into a data pool in your IC2 account and then apply a quota to that group. And then once you go ahead and exceed that limit, you're going to get notified via email. And we just go ahead and get the IMSI number from each SIM in the pool, add it to the usage report, and then define how much data is going to be in that pool. To that end, we have a new mode available to us if you really do need to keep an eye on cell data usage if you're on a very restricted plan or the like. It's called low data usage mode. And what this does is allows you to directly adjust a number of cell metrics, and this is going to impact your bottom line both with cache as well as data usage, giving you the most efficient bandwidth utilization on the network. And because we're doing this from IC2, you can apply them to multiple units quickly and easily. Some of the features that are in play here, well, first off, to turn things on, we're just going under the group level, settings, InControl options, and then we check mark low data usage mode. As you can see here, you do definitely need to be on up-to-date firmware in order to take advantage of things. But once you do, some interesting features do come to light. First off, you'll see up here in the upper right, the estimated base data usage. It's going to start to test how much data approximately you're using at current settings. And then as you toggle some of these other options on or off, you'll see that data usage scale in real time. First off, of course, there's a disable device reporting, and what this does is it just completely turns off posting reporting data to IC2. This does turn on automatically when you turn on low data usage mode, and this is going to make device reports, Wi-Fi, bandwidth, cell reports, etc., unavailable for access because we're not gathering them. Disable live status queries is a little less in that regard. What this does is you'll live status updates, how much throughput's going through, when status, etc. is unavailable. However, you are going to still see the device online. And this is again enabled by default when you turn on low data usage mode. Then we get into some of the ones we can scale a bit. GPS location collection, you're defining how many times a device is going to call home to IC2 to update GPS information. By default, we're doing 30 calls a minute, and then you can scale it to just 1 a minute, 1 an hour, or even just turn things off. The minimum communication interval is the overall call home to IC2, which is by default every 28 seconds. When you turn this on, real-time communication with the devices may be delayed a bit because you are lengthening out those live health checks. If you make a query during a time where it goes down, you may not be able to get to the unit. This is completely customizable, seconds, minutes, and is just a manual text box that you're setting up to go ahead and get this up and running. Before you start making actual changes to the low data usage, you can go ahead and use our calculator to kind of help see what kind of impact things are making. So again, drilling into the low data usage mode, you'll see the calculator up in the corner. Go ahead and expand to start filling in the blanks. This is just a help tool. It doesn't change any settings. Again, this is what you're going to be using to plan things out, before doing your configuration. And this is, of course, extremely customizable. Fill in the blanks, drop down boxes, etc. Speaking of configuration, we do have a couple of new ways that you can get your box up and running. Of course, we had the bulk configurator from before, which was a master config that you're uploading to push out to everybody. A template-based version that we call device IP settings. But now what we have the ability to do is both with firewall and outbound policy, we can take that from a master config and then push that down to the devices. Tags, of course, can be applied to selectively push those settings down to particular units. And it's easy enough to get up and running. You grab that master config, upload it to IC2, and then IC2 is going to extract either the firewall config or the outbound policy config, and then let you apply that to other devices within the group. Again, this is another way, more options to get your devices up and running and in sync with each other as quickly as possible. Finally, let's push down to the device level. Certainly not new, but definitely bears repeating, is the remote web admin option. Remote web admin allows you to get into the UI of a particular device straight from IC2. What makes it very exciting is you can even do this with a NAT IP on the WAN. Because this is an outbound connection from the device to IC2 that you're coming in on, you can do this with a device behind the firewall as long as we have that outbound path to the internet. Going back to some of the new items here, taking a look at the notifications tab under settings and notifications, you'll see that we've added a number of new metrics that you can go ahead and trigger an email notification on. If we have a master-slave transition between devices, if we are exceeding bandwidth usage that you've gone ahead and set up, LAN ports up, down, content hub issues, a configuration change being applied. And then on top of that, these updates can be pushed down if you are using our mobile app to your smart device as well. I touched on it a little bit earlier about the firmware policy, but again, what we do have the ability to do is from the organization level to go ahead and push firmware updates down to all of the devices associated to the account. In addition, we still have the ability to do it on the group level as well as the device level if you do need to be a bit more granular in how you're applying the updates. By default, firmware updates are going to follow the level above. So if you are on the device level, don't set anything, but you do on the group level, that device will follow the group level. But if you are setting up a specific firmware update on the device level, it basically breaks away from that next level up to do its own thing. You do also have the ability to push beta releases from IC2 down to those particular devices as well, both with the Show Beta Firmware checkbox, or if you, for example, get a special build from our support team, we do have the custom URL option that you can put into IC2, upload it, and push it down as well. There are many different versions of InControl 2 that we do have available to us. We have our public cloud-based version, which is one we've been mainly talking about today, InControl2.peplink.com. But we do also have private VMware instances available for on-site private deployments if you want to keep an eye on things a bit closer. It's just a case of seeing your account rep for pricing and availability. We do have a number of sized instances available that you can go ahead and purchase. InControl 2 is constantly changing and updating and will continue to update and change as we pay attention to customer demand. If there are features you're not seeing in IC2, reach out on the forum. If there are enough people who do want these updates, we will go to engineering and see how feasible it is. This does bring me to the end of my talk today. I hope you guys got good information out of things. And Julie, I'm ready for questions.
Great. Thank you, Jason, very much for that presentation. We enjoyed it very much. And yes, I do have a couple questions for you. Let me go ahead and get started with the first one here. Does Peplink offer InControl 2 on all Peplink equipment?
Yeah, with our relatively recent firmware release, you can put Surf on the Go devices now into IC2. Pretty much all the current gear can be is able to report into IC2. Yep.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. What are the requirements for InControl 2?
Simply put, current as long as we're a current hardware build, even most of the older ones is able to do so, that we're on current firmware, which, if I remember correctly, I think everything started at 6.1.2 for the balance device or the balance and max devices, and it was 3.4.0, I believe, for the APs. And that it does need to be under warranty coverage or have an applicable IC2 subscription.
Thank you. Next question here for you. Are notifications sent to phone or email from InControl 2, or can we customize that?
It is currently set up for email. If we can go, let me go back to that slide. And it is absolutely customizable. You can go ahead and have things, as you can see here, there are 3 different levels, alert levels rather, that you can go ahead and fire. And then if you wanted to go to everybody who's associated to the organization, just group admins or a particular admin, you are able to do so. Again, a lot of these do get pushed to be on the mobile app, which is at this point Apple only, where if you do have an admin in there as well, you can use the app to keep an eye on things also. Texting is something that is coming. A lot of people are asking for it. To the best of my knowledge, I do not believe it is up and running as of yet.
Thank you, Jason, for that. Next question for you. When sending updates, is it as a whole for the network or individual device at a time?
You can do either. It depends on where you're sending the update from. With InControl 2, again, there are 3 levels to it: the organization level, the group level, and the device level. So the org level is absolutely everything that's tasked to it. The group level is just that, a particular group of devices, and within the group, you have the device level. So when you're setting up updates, it's a case of just making sure where you want those pushed down to, where you're at in the breadcrumb trail, which is where you can look up at the top of the screen to see what level you're operating at. If you are looking to screen things out with tags, for example, you can get pretty granular.
Thank you for that. Next question here for you. Can we set more than one captive portal profile?
Yes, you do have the ability for multiples at this point. On the group level, you can certainly set up different ones, screen things out with tags, etc.
Thank you. Next question. On the firmware update page, you showed a drop-down menu of firmwares available. Are those updated from your server, or are those installed on the router already prior to the latest update just for the purpose of the video?
No, those are engineering uploads those to IC2, making them available with the GA builds, as well as those beta releases once you opt into that portion. Some of you may be aware of our beta firmware program, where it's just peplink.com/open-beta-program, where once we have release candidates available for public consumption, they hit that page, so you can kind of get ahead of the curve in that regard. The checkbox here for the show beta firmware does take you through a similar agree to the terms of the open beta program, but it's kind of the same thing. Again, to answer your question, no, this stuff is taken care of on the back end.
Thank you for that. Next question. Is everybody going to be subscribed to IC2 once they're on IC?
Say that again.
Question is everybody going to be subscribed to IC2 once they are on IC?
Well, if they're talking about InControl 1, which is kind of the precursor to IC2, everybody that migration has already taken place. So for a little backstory, the original InControl was primarily used for the Wi-Fi gear, APs, SURFs, etc. The Surf on the Go was kind of the last vestige that did get kicked over to IC2 at this point. So for the most part, there shouldn't actually be anybody left on original InControl at this point. It's InControl 2, and then if we have an InControl 3, there will be a program in place, I'm sure, for that migration process.
Excellent, thank you. A couple more questions. Next one here. In regards to the IC2 on the hardware now, is it pre-installed, or do we have to add it to the device? Maybe you've already answered that.
Well, what I think he might be talking about is the versions of InControl 2 that we have. The cloud-based one, of course, you just browse out to incontrol2.peplink.com to go ahead and create the account. The private instances actually aren't hardware-based, they're VMware-based. So you do got to have a server available, and then yes, you are installing InControl 2 on that particular server. Pretty similar to one of the other virtual products that we have with the Fusion Hub, which is the virtual Speed Fusion termination. You buy the instance, you put it on the server, and then you deploy.
Excellent. Thank you, Jason. Can you give us an overview or the best way to reach you or to talk to anyone at Peplink regarding any kind of technical support?
Sure. Our support team absolutely stands available here in a couple of different ways. First off, the forum.peplink.com is probably the quickest way to get a hold of somebody. We have a very active community between power users, our engineering team, and the support team are all in the forum answering questions. We do have a ticketing queue as well as a team at Microcom. If they aren't, reach out to them first. If they're not able to answer it, they kind of have a back end way to get to the support team to get questions answered.
Jason, thank you so much for answering all of those questions. We enjoyed your presentation very much. And also thank you to everyone for attending today's webinar. And if anyone has any further questions, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. If you wish to view any of the products mentioned today, please visit us at www.microcom.us. And remember, this webinar presentation has been recorded and it will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so it can be viewed again on YouTube. Jason, again, thank you so much for your time and your presentation. Very much appreciated and enjoyed it very much.
Thanks, Julie. Thanks, everybody, for letting me tell you about the gear and the products that we have to make sure that everybody gets taken care of. Hope you guys have a good day.
Thank you. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.